Hello, everybody. I'm Jay Greason. That's Graham Doty. Chris Lee had a prior engagement. He's a busy dude, but we are here for your midweek SEC baseball fix here on Southeastern 16. Encourage you to join in, tell your friends, hit that like and subscribe button, and pull up a chair. Enjoy the moment. Graham, it's a Wednesday before lunchtime here on the East Coast. You are in Jackson, Mississippi, correct?
Correct.
I'm in Signal Mountain, Tennessee, right outside of Chattanooga. And everybody played last night in SEC baseball. 12-2 across the conference. Most of those expected. A couple of interesting games. I know we're building up to another conference week that features multiple ranked-on-ranked matchups, and we'll do our prediction show come Thursday with the whole gang in tow. But there are a couple of notable games from the midweek that I think deserve some attention. Auburn rallies back from a 7-5 deficit to take a 9-8 win against a ranked Georgia Tech team that will be in the tournament. And I think, honestly, one of the resonating storylines from a couple of notable games last night was some of the production from bottom halves of lineups. I know Auburn got the grand slam from Cooper McMurray in the first inning, but they scored the 4 runs in the 7th and the 8th to come back in that game, primarily from the back half. And I think that really speaks to a testament league-wide about just how many not only dependable hitters, but really good hitters these SEC teams have 5, 6, 7, 8 in the order.
Yeah. And, kind of at the beginning of this season, we were all talking, and I really do believe that, you alluded to Auburn. Auburn is going to have one of the top offenses in the SEC. Like, I'm not going to be surprised when you look up and they're pretty consistently top 5 in multiple categories all across the board. And I know, Jay, like, Auburn is close to your heart. And every time I go to Auburn, I always enjoy it. And this is a team that's on fire right now. Like, they beat their arch rival this past weekend, Alabama at home. They beat a very good and ranked Georgia Tech team. And then, like, they're going to have a monster opportunity this weekend to show, what they're all about, as they got LSU coming to town this weekend. So, talk about a massive, massive opportunity. If Auburn is able to win that series, they are in the driver's seat to not only host, but, they could be a national seed as well. That's easier said than done, but they're remember, they were picked kind of towards the bottom preseason wise after the year they had last year, and they've been really, really good from day one this season.
Well, and to that point, I guess the biggest question here is, you and I were both high on Auburn very early on, and you rightly alluded, even when I first joined the show, about how everything that could go wrong did go wrong for Auburn last year. And now baseball, it's not only a game of numbers, but the numbers always, they work towards the average. So, and I know we'll break it down a little bit more, but LSU coming to Auburn is a litmus test of, Auburn's an NCAA tournament team, barring losing out from this point, but LSU's a litmus test from being an NCAA tournament team to being an Omaha contender, in my mind.
Yeah. You talking about LSU or Auburn?
No, well, LSU's 100% an Omaha contender. I'm talking about for Auburn, a litmus test. Yeah, they beat Alabama, but that was at home and had the emotion. And they went to Georgia Tech and won. And yeah, good win. But this is all right. Currently in the Baseball America rankings, this is 3 against 11.
Yeah.
Are you ready to handle the moment? And again, we'll break down and do our predictions probably tomorrow. But I mean, this could be a monumental week for the Tigers, the Auburn Tigers.
Yeah, it really can be. And like you said, we'll break everything down in detail later this week. But this series, the Auburn LSU series, is one of 3 this weekend that really stand out. The other one, Tennessee, Ole Miss, and Oxford, and then Arkansas, Georgia, in Athens. So get your popcorn ready because it's going to be a big weekend around the SEC.
I completely agree, which leads me to one of 2 kind of midweek talking points. And beyond the games, and we'll keep talking about some of the notable conversation points through the games. But I understand that TV people have to do their schedule in advance because of travel, because of whatever else. But I don't know how you can explain to me that Missouri at Florida is on multiple mainstream broadcasts, and I get no Auburn LSU, and I get no Arkansas, Georgia. And Tennessee, Ole Miss is only on Sunday. But I get Missouri, Florida on both Thursday and Saturday, and Vandy, Oklahoma is our Friday game on the SEC network. I'm puzzled by this.
Make it make sense. My only guess would be, and having been in this world for a while now, like the goal is they want every team to have at least one series on linear. And preseason wise, everybody thought Florida was going to be really good, and so they were like, let's just do Florida, Missouri, just so we can get Missouri, knock them out of the way. And then Florida has had the season that they had, and it's just like, how in the world is that game linear? And then some of these other great series this weekend,
games.
Yeah.
And remember, 2 of the 2 teams battling for 16th.
Yeah,
in the standing.
The Florida game last night was on linear too. I mean, it was either on ESPN or SEC Network. So this is 3 games this week that Florida has been on national TV.
Well, you referenced last night, and there's no shame in losing to Dallas Baptist, even though the people who just pick up the newspaper and say, "Oh my God, you lost to Dallas Baptist," makes it feels like you lost to Cleveland State or whatever junior college. Man, Dallas Baptist is good, and they were ranked 2 weeks ago. But are we starting to see some warts on Oklahoma?
Yeah, they've had a tough couple of weeks here. They've dropped 2 series in a row, and they got a big one this weekend. They're at home, but they're playing a very good Vanderbilt team. Here's where I'm at with Oklahoma. They are struggling offensively. And when you look at their numbers, like we're kind of at the point of the season, especially SEC wise, like we kind of have enough sample size, at least I think so. We're 12 games in. Oklahoma's offensive numbers, now this is just league play. I mean, they are dead last or second to last in almost everything. Jay, this season, Oklahoma, they as a team and in conference games, they're 0-14 at the plate with the bases loaded. So like they just don't make the most of their opportunities. It's not a team built around power. They just hit a lot of singles and try to steal bases. And I mean, offensively, they've scored, I think, 5 total runs the last 4 games, and they've had 5 hits or less during this stretch as well. So they're kind of at a slump right now offensively. So and they're going against a very, very good, rotation and a really good bullpen this weekend against the Vanderbilt Commodores.
Well, and we'll break it down, but Oklahoma big picture, if you're built around small ball and you are wasting bases loaded opportunities, then you're building small ball, but you're doing it with mismatched Legos, right?
Yeah. Well, they need like if you're an Oklahoma fan, you kind of need some of your studs to turn it up a notch. Like they're all conference catcher a season ago, Easton Carmichael. Like he's been solid, but they need him to step up, and a couple of the other guys that they have leaned on. So, and again, this is the difference between life in the Big 12 and life in the SEC. Like we touched on it the other day. The top team in the Big 12 right now is Kansas. Kansas. I can't remember them ever coming close to making at least a super regional Kansas. So it's just it's a different animal when you're making the switch to the SEC, like Oklahoma's finding out this season.
And again, the loss to Dallas Baptist is not that's not, if Auburn had lost to Georgia Tech, if we talk about challenging yourself in the midweek, it is what it is. But and one of the things I referenced was production from the bottom half, and they were a couple of blowouts. But you look at somebody like Georgia, their eighth hitter hit 2 home runs and knocked in 7, crushing Presbyterian. And a team that I know you follow, Ole Miss, beat Memphis, and Memphis is not good. I'm not saying that, but they got a ton of production. They got 5 RBIs and 3 runs scored from the bottom half of their lineup yesterday. And that's just one of those things that when teams can touch it and pass it back, it takes – everybody wants a bell cow like the Zaborowski kid at Georgia, Alfred's favorite player, LeBron at Alabama. But when you get 1 through 8, 1 through 9 contributions, like a lot of these upper tier SEC teams seemingly do, whether it's midweek or on a Saturday in a 6-5, 8-7 game, that really elevates you not only from appearances and perspective, but confidence in the dugout, where you believe that it doesn't have to be Justin LeBron going to the plate for Alabama to succeed,
Yeah, no doubt. And Texas Rocks in the chat coming in, gasoline this morning. It's 10 o'clock and OU still sucks. So life is good if you're a Longhorn fan here lately.
As an Auburn graduate, I appreciate the eternal passion because, all right, I got a couple of big picture questions we'll get to, Graham, but one of them is I've never been, as an Auburn graduate, this SEC chanting guy. I don't understand that, because if I'm an Auburn fan, and I am, but if I'm an Auburn fan, it doesn't behoove me for Alabama to win the national championship, because that's only going to hurt me in recruiting. So Texas Rocks, God bless you. 10 a.m., enjoy your Bloody Mary, kick back a mimosa. I don't know what your beverage, maybe a black coffee. I don't know. Enjoy your morning beverage and pull up a chair here at Southeastern 16 as we try to shoot you straight. But the balance of power. All right, first big picture question. And on a midweek, who do you think 1 through 9 has the best lineup in the SEC?
Oh boy. Well, I think right now, if you look at the numbers, numbers don't lie for the Arkansas Razorbacks. I mean, it's hard to argue. I mean, now there's some good ones, like just in the conversation. I think you're looking at Arkansas, Georgia, LSU, Tennessee. Those will kind of be my top 4. But among those 4, I kind of think, at least right now, you're looking at the Arkansas Razorbacks. And again, like the numbers do not lie. Like in SEC games, Arkansas against left-handed pitching as a team, they're hitting above 400. Against righties, they're hitting 350. They just have been tearing the cover off the baseball here. Just looking at other numbers, like runners on base as a team, they are hitting almost 400.
Wow.
Like, it's just, you can see why they're having the season that they've had. And like, so much so that I don't know if you saw the video with Dave Van Horn. He's kind of giving love to his hitting coach earlier this week, and he said, "Stop texting me and calling me. Hey, we need to make a change with the hitting coach." So this year, it just seems like everything is clicking for Arkansas offensively. And honestly, I mean, that's kind of been the knock on the Hogs like the last 2 or 3 years, and then this year it's just different ball game for them.
All right.
What do you think? What would be your answer?
Well, I'll go Georgia just because, I mean, until last weekend, they had a team OSP north of 1,000. I mean, as a team. I mean, that is collectively putting the ball in play. But back to your point about Arkansas, better set of twins, the Aloy brothers or Sidney Sweeney?
I think if you're a Hog fan, you got to go to the Aloy brothers, right? Just
but
it impacts your day to day.
Male, you're going.
Yeah. So let's go with the Aloy brothers, especially if you're an Arkansas fan. Life is good if you're a Razorback fan.
Absolutely, and all credit to them, and all credit to your note about Van Horn sticking to his guns and getting proven correct about an offense that really, those numbers do not lie. The next kind of midweek talking point about SEC baseball, it kind of generated in my head with Florida winning the basketball national championship and Max and Chris and those guys doing great coverage here on Southeastern 16 throughout the tournament in a historic year for SEC basketball. But we're staring at a very similar dynamic in SEC baseball with so many ranked teams and so many teams with lofty expectations. I mean, Auburn is middle of the pack in the league and number 11 in the country, to put perspective on how highly regarded SEC baseball is around the nation. But if we get to Omaha and an SEC team is not lifting the trophy, like how Florida won the basketball championship, and it kind of validated all of the conversation about how great the SEC was in hoops. If the SEC does not, if an SEC team does not prevail in Omaha, would that be considered a failure for this league, Graham?
I believe so. Now, look, I'm taking the SEC in Omaha. Like, I'm telling you that right now. Hold on, I'm pulling it up right now as we speak. I think it's the last 5 winners are from the SEC, but let me look. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So going back to 2019, the last 5 winners are teams from the SEC, all different teams. Remember, we didn't play in 2020. And 6 of the last 7 have been from the SEC. The only one that wasn't was Oregon State. And remember, like, we're a pop fly ball and foul territory away from Arkansas winning it. So this would be what, 7 in a row from the SEC, 7 different teams. So I'm taking the SEC. And yeah, like, if an SEC team doesn't win it, yeah, I think that would be a major disappointment. I think the conversation with basketball is different just because numbers don't lie. Like, SEC basketball wise put together the best season of any conference ever. Like, when you compare the SEC's non-conference to everybody else's, but like, in my opinion, you kind of needed the SEC to win the whole thing to really feel good about it, because it had been since 2012 for Kentucky that an SEC team won in men's basketball. So, I mean, it takes a lot to surprise me now. Like, if an SEC team does not win the College World Series, like, I would be stunned. If it's not an SEC team, I think you're looking at somebody out of the ACC, either Florida State, Clemson, Wake Forest, somebody like that.
No, I mean, I agree with you, and you make a fair point that SEC basketball really went from here to there in a season or two. And SEC baseball has been here, but now not only the expectation, but the perception is if they don't win it, then it I don't know. I'm not going to say a failure because all these teams are good.
Yeah.
But it is at least maybe a smidge overblown. I don't know. But it's worth discussing. Another game we need to note, and Alabama beat a good Southern Miss team yesterday.
Yeah.
And I thought one of the things that jumped off the stat line for me was they only got 11 hits, but still scored 10 runs. And in an age where it's been cold the last couple of days across the South, we've been dealing with some weather, but in an age where everybody looks to eye-popping home run numbers, if you can still manufacture runs, and Justin LeBron did not drive in or score a run among those 10 runs. Now he got 3 hits, but if you can find ways to get runs across the plate against good competition, that never slumps. And that will always serve you well.
Yeah. In particular with Alabama, I mean that was a really nice win last night. Southern Miss is ranked. Southern Miss, they took the series at TCU earlier this season. They got wins against Ole Miss and Mississippi State. So that's a really, really good win for Alabama. Good bounce back performance after they dropped the series at Auburn. And this is a big week for the Tide. They got Mississippi State coming to Tuscaloosa. It's also A-Day this weekend. So they got the spring football. I think they're one of the few teams that is having a spring football game, if I read that correctly. So big weekend in Tuscaloosa. So Alabama, you mentioned all the hits they had. So that's kind of where they need to get going again. Like their offensive numbers were eye-popping the first 2 to 3 weeks of the regular season, and they've kind of dipped down a little bit. So they gotta get going now. It's going to be tough for them. Game one, they're going against one of the top pitchers in the SEC in Pico for Mississippi State. So that's an intriguing series for a lot of reasons in Tuscaloosa this weekend.
Well, and wherever you are right now, wherever your team is, either looking in the standings, looking in the rankings, if you're in Alabama after losing 2 of 3 at Auburn, you got to make the most of, and because if you think you're a tournament team, or whether you think you should be a national seed, or if you're still just fighting to host, and a lot of those teams across the SEC file into this category, into those categories, you have got to find ways to make the most of the Mississippi States, the South Carolinas, and the Missouris. I mean, and we'll break them all down tomorrow, but like if you're Florida, you're not wanting to win this series. You're wanting to sweep that series against Missouri. If you're Alabama, you're figuring out a way, all right, let's play well Friday night and roll the dice, but we still have to take 2 of 3 from Mississippi State.
Yeah. I mean, that's what makes this weekend so big. I mean, because like for the Gators, it really is a math problem. I mean, the rest of the way, because you got 18 SEC games left, and if you're gonna start to rack up some wins, like you got to do it, especially when you play Missouri at home, which the Gators do. So that doesn't mean take 2 out of 3. That means you gotta sweep, just to get something going. And Alfred has touched on it. Like Florida's schedule the next 3 weeks is really, really manageable for them. So if they're gonna do something, in the days ahead, like this is where they start to do it. And maybe they do it because they got a big win last night at home against Florida State, who's a top 10 team, and maybe that'll get the ball rolling for Florida.
And you look up, and how bad was Monday's practice? do you think, or how much did Kevin O'Sullivan peel the paint off the locker room wall, considering they got swept by Vandy and did not play well? And that's no begrudge to Vandy. Vandy came in there, they moved runners, they took advantage of guys on base. The bullpen was great, but Florida did not play well and got swept at home. And then last night, to your point, they beat a top 10, top 12 FSU team in the midweek. I'm willing to bet that Kevin O'Sullivan used a few four-letter words that were not please. And I know that's a five-letter word.
Yeah. I'm sure he was, and I mean, I watched a good bit of that game last night. So the past few games, let's just say the camera has found its way to Kevin O'Sullivan in the dugout, and they were locked in on him last night, especially when that game got close late. So I'm sure that he's been one of these guys like, okay, we're talented, like what is going on? So that, let's just say practice had to be intense the past couple of days for the Gators.
Well, watching the Vandy Florida game on the SEC network over the weekend, Mrs. O'Sullivan may have thought he was dating the scorebook because it was a whole lot of this. I mean, it looked like he was smooching on the scorebook because he was making certain the lip readers did not know his Andrew Dice Clay routine for those of an older generation.
Yeah. Yeah. Big time. And like I know we touched on it some, but Florida is one of the most beat up teams in the SEC. So once they get some of these guys back, just what we saw last year, like they didn't have the greatest regular season last year, but they got hot at the right time and made it all the way to Omaha. So, that they have been in this situation before.
All right. If you are, and I'm springing this on you, so you take your time. If you are Oregon State hosting a regional, 3 seed you want to see less, A&M or Florida?
Right. Like I would go with A&M just because of their potential offensively 1 through 9. Now we saw that this past weekend against Tennessee, and then A&M looked good yesterday offensively. So I would go with A&M because their pitching has been, I would say, a little bit more consistent, and everybody's been healthy. And we know what their lineup can be 1 through 9. Now, I wouldn't want to face either one of them as a 3 seed. Like, could you imagine?
No.
I mean, and you bring up Oregon State, and it's funny because they were kind of in this spot, 2 years ago? Your Auburn Tigers went up to Corvallis and won that regional against Oregon State. So an SEC team has done that before, going up to Oregon State and winning the regional.
Well, and I agree with you with where they stand. But if Florida gets their pitchers back, they may be like a team that barely gets to Hoover and is playing on the last day if their pitchers get healthy.
Yeah.
And that's a big if, because it's not just getting healthy, it's getting healthy to pitch more than an inning, pitching more than – because it's a tough scenario. If you're Kevin O'Sullivan, you also not only have to make certain these guys are healthy, but you're not putting them in risk to go back out there and hurt themselves. Because, I mean – pitching is it is not how the human body is constructed.
Right. Well, and like that Florida game last night, you could tell how much did it mean? Did they want that one? Like Clemente, who pitched a lot over the weekend against Vanderbilt. I mean, he was out there last night on the mound, and he shut the door on Florida State. I mean, I think at one point he threw like 10 fastballs in a row. I mean, it was just like, all right, see if you can hit this. And, he got the job done. So when I saw him take them out, I was like, boy, the Gators really, really want and need this one if Clemente is out there.
Well, and that's a great point. But all right, I guess big picture, and you kind of alluded to this, but if you had to rank the top of the 3 really must-see TV SEC baseball series, and again, as we wrap this up, here on Southeastern 16. What is the one series this weekend you're most looking forward to?
Oh boy. I guess I'm gonna go with Arkansas, Georgia, just because that game is in Athens. Georgia's kind of a little bit of a different animal, I guess pun intended, at home than they are on the road. So since that is in Athens, like I'm fascinated with that. Like, do their bats come to life? Arkansas has gone on the road and they got 2 monster wins in SEC play on the road already at Ole Miss and at Vanderbilt. So this is a spot that Arkansas is accustomed to. So that would be my number one, and my number 2 would be Tennessee and Ole Miss. A lot of storylines with that one. What does Tennessee look like? Really facing adversity for the first time, and then Ole Miss facing the Ole Miss transfers and Liam Doyle and Andrew Fisher. So how much fireworks will there be? I think we'll see some. I don't think it's going to be like the Royal Rumble or anything like that where there's a bunch of fights and brawls, but there's a lot of storylines. So those would be my top 2 series that I'm really, really fascinated to watch with this upcoming weekend. What about you?
Well, your 2 is my 1. I just think the emotional aspect, I would not rank Ole Miss, Tennessee over Arkansas, Georgia if the game was in Knoxville. But the game's in Oxford. I think in Oxford, as a fan base, has truly, truly bought in to college baseball. I don't know if it was you or if it was Chris, but in a previous show, we were talking about how, Chris Beard may change that with Ole Miss basketball, but Ole Miss baseball is clearly the second most important sport on that campus right now. And just the emotional buy-in from a fan base that I'm not going to say feels betrayed, but it's probably still a little bitter about the transfers and the storylines that came out after the fact. I am intrigued in an old school baseball way if the first pitch is not in Andrew Fisher's back. Honestly, I really am. I'm not calling for that. I think it's ridiculous when people get upset if a guy flips a bat. You know what? You don't want a guy celebrate? Don't give up a 450-foot home run.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a whole different kettle of fish with the portal and the conversations about whether he did or did not talk to other guys to transfer. And all of this it's going to be a cauldron of emotion that will be stirred by 2 of the top 8 baseball teams in America.
Mm-hmm. Here's what I'll say about that, because that's been a talking point among Ole Miss fans this week, like mainly with the Andrew Fisher part of it. I would be surprised if Ole Miss throws at him intentionally. I would. What if his first plate appearance, there's 2 runners on base and nobody out? They're not going to hit him, but now over the course of the weekend, could it happen? Sure. But I don't think it's going to be first time he's in the box, message sense, we're going to hit him no matter what. But I think Andrew Fisher's going to play into it a little bit. It's just kind of what he does. And Ole Miss fans are going to be fired up, to cheer against him. That's going to happen. I think there's going to be more, noise when involving Fisher than Liam Doyle, mainly because Doyle is one game, maybe 5-6 innings and that's it. Fisher's all weekend long. You see what I'm saying? So it's just going to be pretty consistent with him all weekend long.
Well, and the juxtaposition here is also Tony V is Darth Vader in almost every SEC park he goes to. He's the guy that's easily to root against. And I love him. I think he's tremendous, not only for what he's done at Tennessee, but tremendous for the game, the league, and the sport. He elevates. There's a fundamental line of thinking that if you can't be the favorite, be the villain. Whether you loved or hated the Belichick-Brady era, whether you loved or hated Tiger, whether you loved or hated Earnhardt, those guys made you pay attention even if you weren't an NFL, a golf, or a
Mhm.
NASCAR fan. And Tony V has that same characteristic. And so this was already going to be a big series for Ole Miss. You bring the
Mhm.
Doyle Fisher, and somewhere in the back of my mind, every time we mention Liam Doyle, I can't help but think about Billy Madison. Oh, Doyle rules! And go. I mean, I can't.
Yeah.
Where and then he pours the water on his pants, and then I can't help but a lot of our viewers are thinking, I am dumber for experiencing what you just said. So, but this the whole thing right now, everybody's going to be on the edge of their seat.
Yeah.
And the only thing I can say is I can't believe we only get this on Sunday. This
Mhm.
game should be on ESPN proper,
Yeah.
considering what are they going to show us? The spring football league? I mean,
Right. Yeah.
what are we doing here? Mobilize turn the Death Star to Alderaan. I mean, I don't care what you have to do.
Yeah.
Get this game on my TV.
No doubt. And here's what makes Tennessee so fascinating. They're just a lightning rod, like you feel one way or the other. Like you're not going to meet a lot of people that are indifferent about Tennessee and Tony V. Like you either love them or you hate them. Not a lot of people in the middle. So that's especially what he's been there with 7 years now. It's really like the last 5. This is what Tennessee has been like. There he is.
Hey, a little bit late. I apologize for that.
Perfect time.
We're drive to Kentucky to get your Valhalla hat.
Yes, I had to go get a new hat. That's why.
Fair enough. All right, Alfred. We were starting to wind down because I'm running out of stuff, but so your addition is much welcomed. First, what did you take out of a pretty intriguing 12-2 showing or 14-2 showing across the league in the midweek?
Starting there, my first thought and probably my biggest thought is Florida beating Florida State is massive for them to get that series win over them this season. I mean, that's RPI wise. I don't know where they ended up, but that's good. It's good for Florida to do that. Very well needed. My biggest takeaway from that game, Clemente is going to be a guy they go to a ton in that bullpen, and he's going to be an anchor for them just based off their injuries. So that's my first thing. Next is Auburn. Huge, massive win over Georgia Tech last night. It started with the McMurray grand slam in the first inning. Georgia Tech hung around there, throughout the entire game with this team. And then Auburn just has a big 8th inning with, Ike Irish, Fabian. I think Bub Terrell had the other hit as well. An Auburn fan, please correct me, or Jay, you can correct me too. But huge, massive win for them. Another good RPI win. Georgia Tech's a good team. So that's a good win for them on the road. Those are the biggest takeaways. I mean, there were a lot of other games. Oh, Kentucky dropping one to Louisville was kind of rough. I know that's a game those guys like to have there. Very competitive game, too. I mean, the pitching was just going at it. I know there were a lot of hits and whatnot, but I turned it on for a split second. There were some long at-bats going. So, tough one there, but they had to go to Louisville, and Louisville's also a really good team. Eddie King Jr. was the one who walked it off for Louisville in the bottom of the 10th out there, and we'll see how Kentucky bounces back from that. But my biggest takeaway is a lot of these other teams are ready for this weekend. And, guys, Dallas Baptist just has Oklahoma's number, I believe.
4-0. They're 4-0 against the Sooners.
Yeah. So that was my other big takeaway. Series, I also heard y'all talking before. I was just sitting back there waiting. But biggest series for me this weekend, most intriguing one, Arkansas, Georgia. I'll switch it up from Tennessee, Ole Miss. I think if this was in Fayetteville, Georgia might find themselves in a little bit of trouble, kind of like they did in Texas. But the fact that it's at Foley Field makes this, kind of a different game to me. And I'm not saying Arkansas. I'm right as of right now. I'm probably going to pick Arkansas to win it. But man, if that Georgia hitting wakes up again, we have a good series brewing there.
The one thing, and not to spring it on you, but Graham and I kicked this around a little bit. And I know losing to Dallas Baptist, I mean, no apologies there. Dallas Baptist is a tournament team, and good at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
But is Oklahoma overrated?
Man, if that offense is even a little more slightly quiet, it's hard for them to win. I think they were leaning a lot on that pitching when it was good, and they just had a slew of games recently where that hasn't worked.
Yeah, especially the last 4 games.
Right. And I don't know. I mean, certain teams might just have your number this year, and Dallas Baptist might be one of those. But yeah, I mean that's how I look at it. It's odd to me though. Like these Dallas Baptist losses they've had have been like blowouts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're not competitive. Yeah.
Yeah, the last 2 have been that way. So that's what I think. But nonetheless, we'll have to see how they play going forward. They need SEC wins too. I mean, they're 5-7 in SEC play, so they kind of hit. I feel like once that happened, them in Alabama, like once SEC play started, they hit kind of a lull a little bit. Yeah. And Alabama also another big win for them over Southern Miss last night. That's a good win. So,
well, anything else before? I mean, not getting too deep into the weekend. Final thoughts, starting with you, Graham, as we wrap up this midweek kind of baseball fireside chat, if you will.
Yeah, I think this week, not your typical midweek games. Like there were a lot of big midweek games, and then just kind of building up to the weekend that we will have. But as you said, the SEC took care of business like we expect in these midweek games, and then this weekend is shaping up to be a really fun weekend as well. One thing I will say, like Ole Miss is the only team in the conference this week that is playing 5 games. Like Ole Miss they're the only midweek game tonight. So I kind of think that you're going to see Ole Miss just throw a lot of arms that you're not going to see against the Tennessee Vols this
now
weekend.
Starting for the Rebels, Graham Doty.
Yeah, pretty much. So that'll be something to watch, and just I think the gas will be full, but how full will it be for the Rebels when Tennessee rolls into town? Because 5 games in a week is a lot, especially when you're about to use the emotional, all the emotion into the series this weekend in Oxford. So big picture takeaway, good weekend, a lot of great games last night, and a lot of big games coming up this weekend.
Alfred, what do you think?
Yeah, great night for the league last night for the most part. A lot of big wins against some big time teams that helped them RPI wise, as if this conference needed more help with the RPI. This weekend's got some interesting series. I mentioned Arkansas, Georgia, Tennessee, Ole Miss is right there. Obviously, with the Ole Miss duo, Tennessee now has going back there and whatnot, and that's a hard bounce back series for Tennessee. Not saying they can't get it done, but it is difficult, going there and having to win that. Other stuff too. I do feel like, I don't know if you guys mentioned it because I joined late, but Missouri winning last night with 8 errors is awesome. I don't know how that's
not awesome.
I don't know.
That's like a Hallmark card. I mean, hey, congratulations on the 8 errors and the W. I mean, no, wait. There's like a gift card in that for high school graduates. That's like, hey, I got an 8th grader, and that we have 8th grade graduation these days makes my head hurt. And it's the same way with saying, hey, it's awesome that you got to win with 8 errors. No.
Well,
I did see that, Alfred, and then I saw the score, and I was like, that game was probably 4 hours long. That's a long midweek game.
They gave up a lot of hits too. It's like improbable how they won that game. So I just thought I'd mention that about the Missouri Tigers, and I thought everyone watching would like to know that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this weekend with those 2 series. That's going to be really good. And then obviously there's other stuff going on. Florida, speaking of Missouri, they go to Gainesville. Florida really does have a good opportunity after this Florida State win to bounce back. Yeah, I'm really excited for this weekend. There's going to be some good baseball.
All right. We're going to have to wrap this up because apparently my dog's getting irritated. And for folks who do not know, We got a bulldog that looks like just like Uga because my wife went to Georgia. Everybody knows I went to Auburn, so his name's Bo Jackson. But the thanks to everybody. Thanks to Max and the crew back at the shed who make all the magic happen. If you like what you see, feel free to click the subscribe button. Love to have you back. Join in on the chats. I'm Jay Greason for Graham Doty, for Alfred. Join us tomorrow when we break down all the SEC weekend schedules and make our predictions. Thanks for your time. And more importantly, patronize our sponsors. For Southeastern 16, have a great day.